Hello everybody, this is quixQuery, and today we are back playing more QuixPack. Come back here, cow. You're an essential part of the story that I have to tell. So between episodes I was going around and shearing some sheep and stuff like that, and I saw this cow up here, and... Okay, he's not running away this time. And he and this sheep were like, having this little fight brawl thing, right? And I was watching them for a little bit, and then I realized how intense the fight was getting, and man, the cow had put his house on the line, and a lot of other stuff as well, and the sheep had, bet on it as well, and so, stay here. And the sheep had bet on it well, and so I realized that since this was on top of the mountain, the stakes have never been higher. Okay, but, anyway, below here I've done a little bit of work. We have, just some more stuff going on around. I have moved the coal seeds to the spot where the wheat used to be to open up a little more stuff, and you can kind of see down below there is an area cleared out. And we have a bunch of mini chests from extra utilities too, and those are there for a reason, and each of them is going to hold a stack of seeds. And of each of the different types of seeds from mystical agriculture. And so we will be able to have access to the seeds when we need them and don't just need to wait for stuff to harvest and then fish them out of the system before they get reprocessed and stuff. And then once the buffers are full, all the extra seeds will go to a reprocessor, right? Okay, so good stuff there. And so that's the idea, at least. And so however, I want to store all of the essences for all of these seeds on somewhere else. And I'm thinking I'm actually probably going to make this a little more all in one area, and then next to it make all of the essences in their storage bins and stuff. However, we'll look a little more on that once we come closer to it. For now, we need to actually make these storage bins, and so that is means we need to get into mechanism quests. And I have made a metallurgic infuser, and it's yeah, it's pretty simple. We've looked at metallurgic infusers before. It's a pretty simple machine. We can use it to make stool. Oh wow. I mean, no, we can use it to make steel, and use steel to make the enrichment chamber, and so that is some good stuff right there, and so we will want to get all of that up and running, and so here's our metallurgic infuser right here, pretty simple, and so we're going to get into mechanism a little bit today, get some energy and speed upgrades for this, and look into some of the pipes, and as well as the bins from mechanism that are in our storage quest line. Those are the things we want to look at today. Oh yeah, you may also have noticed that I did do a floor in here, and I'm not entirely sure whether I like it or not. We'll just have to see how well it goes with whatever else we decide to do in this building, and so, but for the moment I made a little floor right here. It's just a checkerboard pattern with a couple of different X-tone tiles, so yeah, pretty simple. Steel quest complete. So I also made diamond seeds while I was waiting for everything to do stuff. The seeds are pretty simple and to understand and make, and so not super worried about doing every little bit of every single thing on camera, and so so we made steel. Now we get to get our enrichment chamber quest. We got redstone blocks and some other things. Wait, hold up. Oh, okay, man, that's interesting. And we have enough for redstone seeds here too, so that's also a plus. Can put our steel in there. And I've been sorting this stuff out a little bit more, just to make sure that I have enough room for everything. And so in the middle here we need tier 3, which is this stuff right here. And one of these. And that makes the next, the redstone seeds, which will be quite nice. That also gets us an ultimate bag from those redstone seeds, which will be interesting to see what the ultimate bag will get us. So, redstone seeds. Good stuff. And we want those growing sooner rather than later, so let's go back up to Mystical Agriculture, get our redstone seeds. And an advanced, a basic, ghast tears, that's really good, and osmium shards. Half heart. Some normal stuff, we got a skull, ooh, I like that. That's a good thought right there. Osmium shards, those are not what we need for the recipe thing, and I purposefully did not put those, the things that we do need for recipes in the, in with everything else, and so you couldn't like obtain it out of order or anything like that, and so no needs to worry right there. Skull can go in there for the moment, and so on and so forth. Half heart, yeah, sure, we'll just put that in there. And let's get these redstone seeds growing. Actually, no. First we want to look at our quest book right here. So, 2 times ore processing is pretty simple. We just need to get the dust here. And so, all we do is we take our osmium ore, we put it in our enrichment chamber, and it turns it into 2 dust. And so, that is the first ore processing quest that we need to get done. So, 2 times ore processing, that's pretty simple. Now, this leads on to 3 times ore processing, etc., in this general direction. However, we need to do a couple other things before we get to 3 times ore processing and some other stuff. And really, for the moment right now, I want to focus more on the pipes and upgrades. And so, upgrades right here, we want the speed and energy upgrades, mostly just the speed ones and partially the energy ones, because right now we're actually doing pretty well as far as energy goes, and so I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, everything is going pretty well. I'm gonna get these redstone seeds running and get the parts together for a speed upgrade and come back here. Okay, so here we are. We are pretty much there to the speed upgrade. They're pretty cheap, you can see right there. And so we have a bunch of these enriched alloys being produced right now. And so we're gonna grab our glass right here and our osmium dust, and that should be enough to make 1. And we want to put that in here for the moment, for the time being. And now we have enough to make another 1, so that's also really good. Simple stuff. And what I'm using to fuel this is these compressed redstone instead of the regular redstone, and that reduces the amount required significantly. And so this is actually going to be enough for a whole stack between what I had already put in there and what I have put in there now with these 2 as well. And so we should have enough for a whole stack of everything once everything is all said and done. And so let's get some more osmium dust here and get some more speed upgrades going, and then put our configurator together. Oh boy, I forgot that this happens when you're starting up Mechanism. We are running low on power, and by low I mean very low. hardly able to get anything to run for very long, and so should probably prioritize these a little bit more. That completes the quest and gives us some other ones as well, so that's awesome. Let's actually put those all into here so that this isn't taking as much power, if that makes sense, to run. And so it won't take nearly as much power to run with all of those in there, and we will be able to perform a lot more other functions as well once we have that. However, we need to really think about this power situation now that, you know, we've come to this little bit of an impasse of sorts. And so let's look in the quest book right here to see what it has as far as power things go. Power RF. As far as generation goes, we could do canola power, we could do biogenerators, actual addition solar panels, or we can start into mechanism stuff already and get a solar generator or, you know, some other stuff like that. And so I'm thinking we probably want to start into mechanism, just, you know, for the moment being, it'll just be easier to work with. Solar panel put together. Now let's put this down. Oh, not right there. That is not going to provide us very much solar power, considering it is not in line of sight of the sky. However, this one is, and should start filling everything up, hopefully, with power. This is getting quite close. Wait, hold up. How much power is this producing? 100 RF per tick. That's meh. Oh wait, hold up. No. It's not even connected to the energy relay. What if we take this now and put it on top of the energizer so that the battery can soak up all of the other stuff? Okay, yes, it is going out into the energizer. 100 RF per tick versus whatever that other thing is doing. I think this is the better option, honestly. So let's, and it allows us to do stuff in the overworld, so that's another plus to using this instead of the lava generation. Though the lava generation honestly isn't that bad. So definitely something I would consider returning to at some point in the future. Oh wait, what? Oh, that's the battery that I was... Okay, yeah, that's the battery I had in there. So let's put that in there. Keep this stuff charging up. So here we are. These are the things that we need for the storage system stuff downstairs, and this is all of the bins for the essences, right? So we will sort all this out eventually. Let's reorganize this wall here a little bit, and that's all of our stuff. And now for the other side, we just put everything down like this on all of the different things. And now the problem with this is that we'll need a couple more if we want to hold the prudentium and intermedium and all that other stuff as well. And oh yeah, we need to put those back in. But oh wow. Wow. Okay. We will need a couple more. Let's sleep here real quick so we don't get attacked by another zombie chicken like that. So I guess at this point it's a little bit of inventory organizing and sorting and stuff, and so I'm going to sort these chests out and make sure we have the right things in each of these and that they correspond to each other on the each of these sides. and from there, we will set up a actual storage network with both of these in. Yeah, and so we'll put storage devices behind each of these, and they will be, indeed. We'll put storage devices behind each of these, and so they all end up being hooked into the network. And so that's the plan anyway. We might make a few more of these for the, here, let's just exemplify this here real quick. At mystical, the prudentium, intermedium, superium, supremium essences, those we'll have to craft on our own and mix that into the system somehow. But right now I just want the basic storage stuff down, and so that's what we're going to work on right here. So I'm going to get that all sorted out and be back. So here we are. We can see a lot of the stuff that's going on. If we actually look at the basic bin, I kind of want to see how much these things can store, and they can store 4,096 items, so it's a little bit. And then the advanced bins store double that, 8,192, and then beyond that, it's the elite bin is 4 times the advanced bin, so that's where the big jump happens. And then we got the ultimate bin, which is just outrageous amounts of storage. So while these will hold up for a little bit, we will need to think about upgrading them to advanced bins at some point in the near future. But for the moment, this is what we have right now, and I am pretty happy with how it's looking so far. Right here, we're going to have our quartz essence, and then up on the top, we will have the emerald and osmium essences once we get those. And we just don't have quartz, emerald, or osmium seeds yet, and that's absolutely fine. We'll get around to that eventually. But for the moment being, we need to, well, harvest all of this, but we also, we need to we have a lot of things we need to do, honestly. What I am going to do next, now that we've claimed this, oh hey, we get 8 extra basic bins from doing that. That's actually quite nice. We're going to get into the storage network stuff. So we need to make 16 network cables, and that doubles it, and we get a basic bag. So let's look at what the network cables require. Network cable right here, and that is stone, tin, and copper. So that's pretty simple to put together. Let's grab a stack of stone stuff right here and some tin and copper from in here. Oh, we don't have very much tin and copper. Oh, that's only because it hasn't been processed yet. Okay, so if we go ahead and process this stuff after we actually, wait. Oh, that's full. We need to make sure that battery is charging still. But I did try and help out our power situation a little bit. Let's check out. Okay. I did try and help out our power situation a little bit in the nether. And I set up things so that they're hopefully a little bit nicer to deal with. And so this is what is going on. We now have 2 of the heat collectors here, and so I'm going to grab that battery for the time being, and we are going to use it to process this copper and tin right now. Aha! So it turns out this recipe actually makes quite a few cables, which is nice, and so we're going to make that many, and yep, okay, and the rest will be made up right there, and so now we have a full stack, so that's pretty nice right there. Let's put all this stuff back. You can see right here, oh yeah, I moved the seed reprocessor and some other stuff down here, and so now if we come back up to the top, the last chest right here is completely open and free of any items, and so we can use it for something else if we really so desire. And so that is going to be quite nice to have another thing of storage for some bits and pieces. What I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to move all the machinery that's in here up into this one. And so we'll have like that and how about the machinery and tools? And so we'll have like all of this type of stuff up in the one up here instead. And so that'll hopefully help make all of this a lot nicer to deal with. However, I'm going to finish that up off camera. Our power situation is actually doing quite well now that we have that second one in the nether. We are not super lacking on any of that now, and let's think here. Things are going well. Okay, so we have our cables right here, our network cables. And now, in order to do anything with these network cables, we need a network controller. So we're going to look at what the network controller requires. Core. Okay. I got it wrong. Core. So that's a block of black quartz, 4 network cables, and 4 chests. That's pretty easy to put together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we have a network core. Now the thing about this is that we will need to provide power to it, and so that's the big interesting part right here. And so we need to figure out some way of bringing power down there at some point. However, for the moment, we just want to make it relatively functional, and so this is the network core. That's where that thing goes, and a cable out the back will then branch off to either side. Now, if we look in our quest book once more, we can see that the request table is the way to see all of the items in the system all at once. And then we can use item mirrors for things like, say, the seeds right here, if we really wanted to have the seeds available. And essentially the item mirror acts kind of like a storage drawer of sorts with 4 different slots that different items can have, except for instead of actually storing the items, it just displays what is in the system. And so, yeah. That's pretty nice, but we're gonna work on the request table and then the storage devices. So let's look up request table. This is a crafting bench, 4 network cables, a bucket, some gold, and a chest. That's a pretty simple recipe. Let's get some things together. So here we are. This is nowhere near the amount of storage devices we actually need. But you can see right here the basic gist. This is the recipe, pretty simple. 2 network cables, chest, iron, redstone. It's one of the cheaper ones here. And let's claim this. We now have doubled it to 8 because of the quest reward. And essentially what we can do with this, and since we can access these bins pretty easily, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook these up to the chests right here instead. And since these aren't filled yet, we're not going to worry about them. But the idea is that we should be able to see all of these stuff inside here. Oh, it must have just gotten put back right back where it was because and then we can item filter each of these to be so that only the correct type of seed gets put into each one. So that's pretty good. Good stuff, and it appears as though we can it appears as though everything is working, even though we aren't providing it power right now, which is kind of interesting. Makes me wonder whether we actually need to provide it power or whether we got off free. And so we're just gonna have to play around with it for a little bit and see what's going on. But we got item filters to do some storage, additional network storage devices to hook up right here and even on the other side as well. And so we can get the basic infrastructure here up and running. So it appears as though we actually need to make the item filters themselves. However, they are still pretty cheap, and so I'm going to make those up. Right now we can see all the stuff we have in here. So I should have hopefully set all this up so that everything should be fine, except for the overflow of the seeds, which we will be working on here shortly. It'll have to do with the seed reprocessor right there, and then piping back into the system. But we will work on that here soon. But if we just shift and click and drag over even everything and anything in our inventory, but specifically the essences and other stuff like that that are hooked up. The tin essence and the redstone essence aren't hooked up yet, and neither are a lot of those. Yeah, you can just see around the back. This is what we have hooked up so far. But all of that should now be in there. And so that is exactly what we were looking for. And so, yeah. That's the idea, at least. That everything will end up being piped into the system and automatically go into its correct spot. And so now all these filters in the correct spots, that's all fine and dandy. Very happy about how that is going. Now, for this next part, we're going to make a chest here real quick. 8. And like so. Now, we're going to put this chest... I don't know where we're going to put this chest. Where do we want to do our seed reprocessing? Since our seeds are on this side, let's actually put the chest like right here or something like that, right? Yeah, let's let's put it up one. Oh boy. Okay. There we go. So now what we want to happen here is to take one of these storage devices, and I haven't set up filters for anything over here yet, and so we're not too worried about all of that. But what we're going to do is we're going to set up a storage device, I think, like right here. However, it's going to have an item filter with all of the seeds on it. So let's set that up here real quick. So here we are. These are all the seeds we have so far. Obviously quartz will go right there, emerald right there, and osmium right there. But for the moment, we'll just put this in here. And now what we want to set this to is a negative priority, I believe. And so that'll make it so that first, stuff will go into the proper seed chest right here. And after it's full up right here, then it will come into this chest. And from this chest, it will be piped out and into a bunch of seed reprocessors, and from the seed reprocessors back into the storage system. And that will be for the, what's it called, and it will end up in its proper essence spot, wherever the essence is supposed to go. So that's the idea that we have behind this. And so we're going to move our seed reprocessor over here. And so now above it, we will have all of the piping going into the seed reprocessors and out of the chest. And after that, we will come out of the seed reprocessors and into the storage network. And so that's the idea, at least. And we'll use import buses or something like that, whatever they're called, importers, I believe. Let's check it out. An import device. There we go. To import all of the essence back into the system here, and that is that's the plan at least. And this will be expandable to as many seed reprocessors as we want. And the more seed reprocessors that we have, the the hope is that the quicker it'll go. So yeah, and the more different types of seeds we can handle all at the same time. So now if we put our seeds into there, and again the essences still don't work, they will end up in this chest right here because these things are full. Now if we were to take those out and have those additional ones right there, and we were to put them in right here, then this will fill up first, and then the remaining stuff will go into here to be reprocessed and then put back into the system. So something very wrong has been going on. I've been seeing mobs up here with increasing frequency. And with the mega torch right here, that's really not supposed to happen. And obviously the overlay won't be able to tell us where the mega torch applies to and where it doesn't. But we had a creeper explosion right here and lost quite a bit of stuff, and so I was able to salvage a little bit of it. But yeah, it was pretty sad. Well, creeper explosions can be dealt with. This cannot. And so we need some way of piping into the seed reprocessor right there. Because the seed reprocessor, well, yeah, it's pretty simple why we need the seed reprocessor. But obviously, these will not work as a simple solution that we can use to just get this done with for the moment and then come back to it later when we have proper item pipes. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go into mechanism right here, and we want the basic logistical transporters, which is 2 steel and a basic control circuit for 8 of them. Now the thing about this is that we actually want the configurator, so we can actually use these first. And so the configurator, pretty cheap, and so I'm going to put one of those together and some basic logistical transporters here. Okay, so I made 16. We don't actually need 16 right now, but that's how much passes off this quest right here. And so, yes, now we have our basic item transporter quest complete. And so what we're going to do is come down here, and we are going to hopefully connect this to the top of that, and aha! Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to pull from there and push into there. And so now all of the extra seeds will go into the seed reprocessor right here. And now, after that, we obviously need to still import bus them into the system. And I'm not entirely sure how we're going to do that. And from here, we can hook that up right there. And now, the hope is that the stone will come out and into the storage system. However, if it doesn't do that, then there is an alternative. And so what we can do is make a hopper and face it into this block right here. And from there, we will import from the hopper into the storage network. And that should hopefully work. Hopefully. It's at least coming out of there. Let's see. Upgrades. Are things being piped out of this? No, they are not. Which means that we're having trouble with how this is coming into the system. Because if I were to take some of this stone and put it into the system, it would be just fine. However, in the state it's in right now, it's not importing into the system via the import device. Okay, so let's think about this here for a little bit. So let's try this instead. We have a chest here now that all the hoppers are going to be funneling into. And if we put an import device on the chest, then nothing continues to happen. Oh. Well, I kind of feel stupid now. I know what's going on and why it's not importing and never was. Is because this doesn't have power, and so it won't it won't import or export or anything like that. And so while it will still insert items into the correct positions if you do forcefully put it in, it will not automatically import things into the network and export things from the network if you're not providing it power to begin with. So, yeah, that is something that we should be keeping in mind as far as this goes. However, the problem with that is that we have no way of power. Yeah. And so we're going to want to look into the energy cables from Mechanism, and I believe those are actually in the Power RF quest line. Yes, the basic universal cables. And yeah, and they're pretty simple to use. We just need a lot of them to get them down here and to run them through a couple different places so that we can actually get them down here and then to the network core itself. And so let's see what those cost actually. Universal cable. Basic universal cable, 2 steel and a redstone per universal cable. Actually, that is very doable. That is very doable. And so let's plop all this stuff in here. Grab our steel out of here and our redstone as well. Okay, got some redstone. And let's plunk all these together. That should complete the quest, should more than complete the quest, and give us the bag with an additional 8 cables, and we should then be able to use that to run power to this. And so how do we want to do this? It's a valid question. The power cable, I think I'm going to have run through right here and down like so. And then we'll have it run under the ground to the core itself. And when we need to make adjustments, we'll just have to dig out the ground a little bit, but hopefully that shouldn't need to happen too often. So let's fill this back in. There we go. Okay. And so now we need to connect this to the rest of our power and put this torch back. So let's head up a layer and start. I'm good at this. I can parkour, clearly. Let's start bringing this up into the ceiling. And so there is a layer between here and the floor, and so we can move this cable around wherever we want to before we bring it up through the floor. And so I'm not entirely sure where we want to run our cables up to the main portion of everything and every other bit like that. We actually probably want to use some sort of cable-less thing, meaning no cables, and so this will probably just end up running into the ceiling eventually. However, for the time being, we want it to kind of come over towards the innervator. And so if we come down right here, we're looking at the stone, and we want to figure out which side the power cable is on. It's on this side, so we're going to come up, and that's kind of pointing towards this furnace. So if we move this around a little bit, right over to here, just for the sake of doing things right now. And we'll work around what everything is supposed to be going on right here eventually. But aha, and there's our power cable, and we're just going to bring it through the floor for right now, and we're going to pump out of there, and that should start to fill up with power, and it should be brought down to the network right here, which is now lit up and receiving power. And so now it should be importing, and it is. Very slowly, but it is importing. And that is exactly what we want. So that's perfect. And so this system is now up and running, and expandable too. We can, use all of the pipes and hoppers and other stuff to add as many seed reprocessors onto this as space allows, and everything should work properly now. And so these are all being pumped back into the system over here, and so currently all we need to do is just plop the items into the request table, seeds and all, and everything will be sorted out as going to its correct position in the storage system. So that is magnificent. However, we are starting to run a little low on time for the moment, and so we are going to head over to the comment of the episode, not the day. And the comment of the episode is from a guy named Pizza Volcano. Should see it on screen now. And he says that we should start on Project E, and Project E is definitely something that I want to get to sooner rather than later. And however, the way the pack is laid out, Project E, we have to get through Mechanism first in order to get to Project E. And we can look in the quest book right here to kind of see, well, first off, we need to get some 9x9 dire crafting table and other stuff like that up and running. But we actually need the crystals in order to get into Project E. And so if we look at Project E, there we go. Okay. And as the energy condensers take an alchemical chest and obsidian, right? Alchemical chests take all of this, including the alchemical coal. Now, to make alchemical coal, which is required for pretty much everything in this mod, other than a few odds and ends here and there, you need a Philosopher's Stone. Now, the Philosopher's Stone requires the extreme crafting, and it requires some supremium, as well as the osmium crystals and osmium essence. And so we need the osmium seeds, which means we need osmium crystals to do that. And osmium crystals themselves also require us to get into the mechanism processing and other stuff like that. And in the middle we got a prism here. That's pretty cheap to make, but this is the recipe for the Philosopher's Stone. Everything else is actually pretty simple. The neutrons, neutronium nuggets, and all this other stuff is actually quite easy to get a hold of. There might be a little bit of time required for the neutronium nuggets, but everything else should be just fine other than those osmium crystals. Yeah, so we will get around to that here soon, hopefully sooner rather than later. But around the time of episode 10, if we haven't gotten around to Project D, I'm going to rush it and just, get there anyway. And so anyway, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for the comments, and again, make sure to comment on the videos, and I will potentially feature your comment in the next episode. So, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you around.